Hi everyone, welcome or welcome back. Today I'm going to show you how to do a Quilt As You Go Battenberg block. And for this project we are going to use a jelly roll. Now this is the block here. It's a really great beginner block. It does have one nested seam, which I'm going to show you how to do. And it starts with a 4 patch in the center, and then it has 2 sets of strips going on the outside. And the jelly roll makes it like a really nice scrappy block. So let's see what we need to get started. Okay, so what we're going to need for this project is our jelly roll. Now this is a jelly roll. It comes as 2.5-inch strips by the width of the fabric, and they just roll it up and package it like this. And when I get it, what I do with it is I sort of separate it into its colors, and you can see here like they already have it sort of segmented out. There's the blues and then some greens and some turquoise. So it's really easy to segment out. And I just take each color and I just sort of lay the strips out to see what I'm going to need at a certain time. This one is really nice. It's so colorful. It's got some yellows, some turquoise, some peach, some green, and a few whites. So we'll get that ready. And then we're going to have our batting and our backing. I have an iron. I'm going to use some clips and pins. I have a rotary cutter, a little pair of scissors to snip any threads, and my sewing machine. So let's get started. Okay, so the first thing we're going to do is make our 4 patch. So I want to, let me get this out of the way first. I want to pick 2 strips that I think will coordinate well. I'm going to try this peach one, and I think I'll do a yellow. Let's see what we have here. I think I'll do this yellow. Okay, so I'm going to put them together because a jelly roll strip is 2.5 inches wide, and I want a square of 2.5 inches. So I'm going to cut 2.5 inches off to make my square. So I'm going to put these together. I'm going to cut my selvage off. And then I'm going to cut 2.5 inches, and I'm going to do that twice because I want 4 blocks. So there's 1, oops, and 2. And when I line this up, I want to try to line it up with the side and the bottom so I know that I'm squared. Okay, so that gives us our 4 patch. Like that. Okay, so now I'm going to lay right sides together, and I'm going to sew 1/4 inch seam. So let's go to the machine and do that. Okay, so you want to make sure your squares are lined up here. And I'm going to start with a piece of fabric, also called a starter or a lead, whatever you want to call it, because I want to make sure that my feed dogs are not going to pull my fabric under. Because if you start, you see right underneath your presser foot is a hole there. If I start sewing right to the edge here, that has a tendency to pull that in that hole. So what you do is you want to start with a little piece of fabric. I'll show you. You just start sewing, and then this way it's just going to glide right onto this piece. So what I usually do is I sew a few stitches, and then I put this underneath, and then continue to sew. And it's just seamless that way. Okay. so here's our 4-patch. And I'm going to take that to the iron real quick and set those seams. Okay, so now we want to nest our seams. First, I want to make sure I'm going the right way. Yep. Okay, so to do that, we want to lay them right sides together, and hopefully you can see this. Take your 2 seams, and you can almost just like rub them together, and you'll feel when that hits, when the 2 seams hit each other. And you can see they're pushing on each other. You know you have it exactly lined up. So you want to just hold that really tight. I put a clip in there, and then if you want to double check, you can just bend that back and you can see that it is right on the seam here, that it's right in line. So you know you're going to get a perfect nested seam. Okay, I hope that helps. So I'll show you what I do when I get to the machine. So make sure we line them up. Again, I'm going to use my little lead, my little starter. Okay, so we're going to start to sew this. Get as close as you can to that clip. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to hold my finger down really tight so that it doesn't move. Just make sure you're lined up here. And I'm going to hold it down so I can't go any further. Okay, and that should be it. So let's see how we do. Okay, so if we open this up, you should see it's right on the seam there. Okay, and then I'm going to press this. Okay, so now I'm going to get my batting and my backing, which I have right here. Now, when you get done sewing this, you should have a 12.5-inch block. It'll finish at 12 inches once it's sewn on all sides. So what I did was I cut my backing and my batting at 13 to give me some wiggle room. And we want to place this in the center. So if you want to know where your center is, we're just going to fold that in half. And then just press the center real quick there. Fold in half again. Press that. And our center's right there. So we just want to take this and just guesstimate. Okay. So now you don't have to sew this down because we're going to sew it on all sides. But if you wanted to, you could do like maybe like a little X and sew it down, but that's up to you. I'm going to leave it as it is. So now we want to do our first strip around. So I'm going to take I think I'll do a turquoise. I'll do this one. Okay. And let me just cut those selvages off real quick. Maybe not that much. Oops. I think it's time to change my blade. Okay. So now I'm not going to cut, you can cut this as you go, but I'm just going to cut it each time I sew. But you can cut it down and then sew it and then cut it and then sew it, but I'm going to leave the whole thing. So I just want to line this up at the top. And you can put some pins here, or you can just hold it. I'm going to put a few pins just so I know it's not going to shift on me when I take it to the sewing machine. Okay, and then we're going to sew 1/4 inch. Okay, so now we have our first strip on, and what I usually do is I just fold this up on itself to the edge of our 4-patch here. Line it up at the side so I know I'm straight. Just finger press. And then I take my scissors and I just cut that off. Okay? So there's our first strip. So you can finger press this, or you can take it to the iron, which I'm going to do, because I just like to make sure that it's nice and crisp. Okay, so now we're going to put our second strip on at the bottom. So we're going to do it the same way. Just line it up with our 4-patch. And you can put a pin in, or again, you can hold it. And I'm going to take it to the machine and sew that straight down. Just make sure you know where to stop. Okay, so there's our second one. Take that out. Again, fold it up. Go to the edge, making sure you match your side. Finger press and cut. Okay, there we go. I'm going to iron that real quick. All right, now we want to do our sides going straight down. So line this up, throw a pin there. Just going to put one in the top and then take it to the machine. Make sure you line it up as you go along. Okay, flip that up, finger press, making sure it's straight. Oh, there you go, and cut. All right, and then I'm going to iron that. Thread there, cut my threads here. There we go. All right, and then the last strip on this side. Oh, go this way. Cut that thread out. Okay, just throw a pin in there. And we'll take that to the machine. Okay, so that was our last strip. Again, we're going to fold it up. Now, if you went too far, you can just clip that last thread if you added an extra. Okay, finger press and cut. Alrighty. And there we have our first round of strips. Okay, so now we're going to put our second row on. So for this one, I'm going to do, I think I'll do a, see, I really did kind of a turn. I want to do a green. Maybe this peach one. So let me cut my selvage off first. Okay. Again, we're going to start at the top. So you're going to do the top, the bottom, and then the two sides. So I'm going to line that up, and then we're going to sew that down. So I'm going to finish this, and I'll be right back. Okay, so that is our last strip. Iron that down. Okay, so now, as I said, I cut my batting and backing a little larger than my block because I wanted that little extra room just in case anything shifted. So we are going to cut this down to a 12.5. Line that up on all sides. And there we go. We have our perfect 12.5-inch block. And that's your Battenberg block. And then there's the back. You can see the stitching on here. Oop, clip that. Okay. So I'm going to make all my blocks and then I'm going to come back and show you how we're going to join these together. So I have all my blocks done, and after you get them all finished, what you want to do is you want to just maybe lay them out on the floor, see what what patterns you like to go next to each other. What I did was I have this wall over here in my room that I didn't really have anything up. So all I did was I got some flannel and I just really thumbtacked it to the wall. And I usually put my iron in front of this wall. And basically all I did was I just went through the blocks and I just put them up on here. They will stick to the flannel. It's really amazing. And I just got this flannel from Joann's. It was like a pre-roll. Um, it came in this roll like this. So I just got 2 of them and put them up here. And then I just laid them out, however I wanted it to look. And then I just, and they'll stay up here. And if they don't, you can just like slide a pin in there and it'll hold it. So that's what I did. And now let me show you how to put these together. Okay, so we have 2 of our blocks here. And for the sashing, I'm going to use white. And I have a 1-inch strip that I'm going to use for the back. And then a 2-inch strip folded in half. So this is a 2-inch strip. You're just going to fold it in half and iron that all the way down. And so I have that right here. So what we want to do is, now you could cut your sashing down if you don't want to use the long strip, but I generally just take the long strip and then cut it as I go. So I'm going to put my 1 inch on the back. I'm going to overhang this a little bit because there's a selvage there, so I don't want that. So that's going to go in the back. I'm going to put a few clips on this so it doesn't move. Okay. And I'm going to flip it over and I'm going to put my 2-inch on the front. I'm going to line it up raw edges to raw edges. Like that. Actually, I'm going to put another clip in the middle just so it doesn't move on me. And we're going to take that to the sewing machine and we're going to sew a 1/4 inch. Okay, so we have our 2-inch on the front and our 1 inch on the back. We have sewed 1/4 inch. Now I'm just going to trim off these edges here. Okay, so actually I'm going to iron down this back piece because we're going to join this to the back of that one. So for right now, we're just going to iron up down that back one so that it stays a little flatter and it'll be easier to join. Okay. So we're going to take this one and then the back of the second one. We're going to line that up, the edges. And I'm going to put a pin in there, or a clip, I should say. I'm going to clip that all the way down so it doesn't move. Okay. And then we're going to sew, fix that one. We're going to sew this 1/4 inch straight down. Just make sure you're lined up. Okay. So there we have the back. Now we're going to flip this over and we're going to fold over our front sashing. And I'm going to iron this just so it stays down a little. Makes it a little easier to be able to pin it. Oops. Okay. So I'm going to flip the top of it. And then I'm just going to put a few pins going down. And then I'm going to clip the bottom. Now for this one, you don't want to sew a 1/4 inch. You want to sew about 1/8 of an inch down, just sort of right on the edge here, because you don't want too much flapping on this. So you just want to sew it as close as you can. So about 1/8 of an inch all the way down. Okay, so we'll take that to the machine. Okay, so there's our front piece. I'm just going to iron that real quick. Okay, so you're going to continue doing that to sew your blocks together. And then you're going to do the same thing when you go to join your rows together. So I hope you enjoyed that tutorial on the Battenberg block and turning it into a Quilt As You Go block. And I hope you'll join me again for my next video. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe, and then hit the notification bell to let you know when I put another video up. So remember, happy sewing and sew something happy.